So, The Bride was directed by Maggie Gyllenhaal and it stars Jesse Buckley, Christian Bale, Peter Sarsgaard, Jake Gyllenhaal, Annette Bening, Penelope Cruz, and it's about this woman played by Jesse Buckley who is killed and she's brought back to life by Frankenstein's monster and another scientist who is not Dr. Frankenstein, and she's brought back to life. Initially, she's made to be the bride of Frankenstein, but she decides that she's going to kind of do her own thing and kind of go out there and kind of change the world. So this is a movie that I've been hearing about for a while. I remember seeing Maggie Gyllenhaal's first movie, The Lost Daughter, and thought, okay, that was kind of interesting, and I can actually see like her doing a good job with this movie. I thought that movie was very interesting. So when I heard she was doing a movie like this, a movie that was so very different, it sounded very strange at first. And then I saw the trailers and I thought the trailers actually look really good for this movie. And I'm actually getting excited for this movie. But also, why is this movie coming out in March? Why not coming out around, say, September, October, somewhere around there? Get some awards buzz and maybe cash in on the Halloween season and such. Having seen the movie now, oh, wow, there's a lot to say about this movie. I will say, this is one of those movies that I watch and I thought to myself, I can understand why so many people feel the way they do about this movie. If you hate this movie, I completely understand it. But if you like this movie, I also completely understand it. Where do I lie? Well, I'm somewhere in the middle. Because there are times where I'm watching this movie, it's like, okay, there are some good ideas here, but then there are some odd choices that are made in this movie that I'm like, why? What? And yeah, let's just dive in. I'm gonna try to avoid spoilers with this movie, but I will say right ahead, maybe you should give this movie a chance at some point. Maybe not in the theater, but maybe down the line when it hits a streaming service. So, is there anything about this movie that does work? I will say most of the performances are pretty good. Jessie Buckley, I thought she did a decent job. I thought Christian Bale also does a pretty good job. Christian Bale always does a pretty good job no matter what movie he's in. Annette Bening actually stole the entire movie from me. She is only in about it for about half the movie. Well, maybe a third. But I thought she was the scene stealer throughout the entire movie, which is weird because she's probably had the longest career out of all these actors and such. But I thought she did the best out of all the actors in the movie. Also, Peter Sarsgaard as a police detective in this movie, I thought he did a pretty good job when you find out, like, his overall connection to the story and such. And also, Jake Gyllenhaal has a very brief role in this movie, and it is so random, but you can clearly tell he's kind of having fun with it, and it's just kind of silly to me. The music by Hildur Gudnadir is also very well done. The cinematography by Lawrence Sher is also very beautiful. And it's very weird. I'm going to compare this movie to Joker a lot in this review because not only does it have a lot of the same ideas as Joker, but also it involves people who worked on Joker. And it's just very weird that I'm comparing it to Joker, but I may also compare it to Joker Folie à Deux. Not the best. And again, I will say there are a lot of interesting ideas in this movie, and I won't go into all of them because, again, there's so many plot points in this movie where it's like, okay, this is kind of interesting or kind of well done and such. Like, there's a few scenes like Christian Bale and like how he deals with loneliness and such, and like some of the things that he's interested in, like how he's interested in cinema and such. That was kind of interesting. And there are moments in each movie. I will say every actor in this movie does get a moment to shine. And almost every actor. I will say the only actor who doesn't really get a moment. Penelope Cruz is probably the weakest part about the movie, but I'll talk about her in a bit. But every actor does get a moment. And I will say this about this movie. Again, completely understandable why someone would like it or hate this movie. But this is one of those movies that maybe I'm not the biggest fan of, but I can at least say I can respect it enough, even if I'm like not the biggest fan of it. Um, I kind of walked away kind of thinking like, what did I actually just watch? And it's just absolutely mind up. It's just, I don't want to say it's a mind blowing movie, but it's like one of those movies where I'm like, again, maybe you should check this movie out at some point. Maybe because like to see where you lie. Do you like it? Do you hate it? Are you kind of like me who kind of like sees it all and you're like, maybe I'm just in the middle somewhere where it's like, yeah, I understand every side of this movie, but let's dive into it. The framing device of this movie is one of the weirdest framing devices I've ever seen in a movie. And it is absolutely bizarre what they go with. And I just feel like it just didn't really work out. And also, the movie itself presents itself as like a mixture of various other movies and such. Like some of the movies I thought of while watching it is like Bonnie and Clyde, Poor Things at times, also Joker. with like some of the themes they were talking about, like revolution and such. But it winds up coming across more like Joker Folie à Deux, where a lot of the stuff they're doing in this movie feels like a WTF moment and such. Like there's a random musical number about halfway through, and it kind of made me think, what, like, the rest of the movie is not a musical, so why is there this big lavish musical number just randomly in this movie and nowhere else? And it's like, if you think, it's like, okay, maybe think about it as like all the classic movies that they kind of reference and such, maybe it does make sense. Is this a reference to Young Frankenstein of all movies? Like, okay. And I will say that there's a lot of laughable moments in this movie. Like, as good as Jesse Buckley and Christian Bale are in this movie, there are some moments where they're giving laughable performances. And again, I don't know if a lot of it is intentional or not. But there are some moments where I kind of wanted to laugh, but, you know, there were other people in the theater watching it, and it's like, maybe that's a little inappropriate. And I will say, too, there are some actors in this movie who just had wasted potential. Penelope Cruz is in this movie, and I felt like her character just did not really do much. Jake Gyllenhaal is in this movie very briefly. He's as an actor who is a target for Christian Bale and such, because like Christian Bale's character, he is, I don't want to say in love, but like he loves the actor and such, but it literally just goes nowhere. Peter Sarsgaard, his storyline, like how he's connected into the overall story of this movie, kind of feels wasted. And also, it kind of feels like a lot of stuff kind of comes out of nowhere, and maybe it just doesn't really come together. The production values of this movie, when you kind of have a shot, like at least outside, it looks really cool and really well done and such. But then they don't really do anything with it. Like they don't have a lot of scenes outside or anything like that, and it just felt very bland. Like there's like a shot in New York where it's like you kind of see the two main characters standing outside city landmarks and such, but like it's only for like a few seconds. It's like, oh, that looks really gorgeous. Let's see what the rest of New York looks like. And you don't get to see the rest of New York, unfortunately. And there's also a point in the movie where they go to Niagara Falls, but you don't see Niagara Falls at all. You don't see anything. It's just, they just say, oh, Niagara Falls. You could literally have that scene take place anywhere, and it would probably make a little bit more sense. The best way to describe this movie is that it's not really a Frankenstein movie. Well, you could argue that. It's about the Bride of Frankenstein. What I would say is that this movie is a Frankenstein's monster movie. This is a movie that's made of several parts that are like, maybe they don't really go together, but when you put them all together, it either works or it doesn't work. And there are times where it's like, okay, I'm fascinated by what's going on in this movie. There are times where I'm thinking, what are you doing? Like, what are you actually doing? This is a movie that I could also see having like a massive cult following. Like the production values, like the makeup on Jesse Buckley is really good. The makeup on Christian Bale, really good as well. That was really fantastic to see. But the rest of the movie just feels like a mismatch of like everything that's going on in this movie, and just kind of reminded me of like it had, again, it had really interesting ideas, but a lot of this movie just does not come together. And it just feels like a monster movie in the sense that it was all put together and they just kind of released it. And it doesn't really feel like anything other than that. Like, even though the performances are solid, the music is really good, the cinematography is really good. There are some interesting ideas. It's a movie that I can at least say I respect rather than a movie that I like. But the framing device is just weird. There's so much wasted potential with the actors and the production design and such. Again, the makeup also very well done, but also there are so many laughable moments, so many questionable moments in this movie. And again, I can understand someone saying, I really like that movie, but I can also understand people really hating this movie. And honestly, I don't really feel like I belong in either camp, because like I'm going to just say it's like, you know, maybe this isn't as good as I want it to be, but this is not as bad as some people make it out to be. It's a movie that I feel like is so unique and out there and just so different than a lot of stuff that's out there that I can at least respect it in that way. But I just don't think it comes together as a whole. So that's why I would say maybe you should check it out at some point, maybe down the line. So I will give The Bride 2 out of 4 stars. Stream it. This movie wanted to be Joker, but there were times where I was thinking of Joker 2, and it kind of just does not work as a whole. It's not as bad as some people are making it out to be, but I also understand why people are hating it. And also, yeah, I'm just somewhere in the middle, honestly. So, did you see The Bride and all? And also, what was a divisive movie that you really liked or really hated? Because I see like a lot of discourses how divisive this movie is and such, but yeah. Comment down below, subscribe to the channel. This is Pat, and stay safe.